We are in the Divine Discourse 60, another landmark number, on the 13th of June 2020, Sharvarinam Samvatsar, Uttarayan, Grishma Rutu, Jyeshtha Mas, Krishna Paksha, Ashtami, a Saturday. Now I think we are geared up yesterday, once again revisiting what our goals are, the threefold approach, and then how important is practice for us on the path of spirituality. Just like as any doctor or an advocate or a chartered accountant would say, I'm practicing. So in the same way, we too are practicing. What? Spirituality. In what way? All the good things which have been taught, we are going to practice. And while doing the practice, our understanding is that, the moments of experience should be that they take our breath away, those moments. That kind of an experience one should be having. Now we rarely have, but once you start the practice, you will start getting the experience. And to this, I would shortly want to add one more spiritual practice. This is by hearting a shlok from the Gita. Now, there what my intention or idea is, not just by hearting the shlok, but primarily to form a neural pathway in our brain. Now, neuroplasty, as you all know, has now developed so much, and there we have got a fair inkling of how the brain works. So in today's science, neurology has neuroplasticity, has been speaking about this. Now what happens here? When you are doing a physical activity or a mental activity, again and again, so what happens? The neurons get fired in the brain. There are roughly about 10,000 crore neurons. Okay, they get fired in the brain every time any physical or mental activity is happening. Now, this particular thought of ours or activity of ours which has been done is getting registered in the brain. And if again and again, if that same activity is done, then what will happen is those thoughts, as we say subtly, eventually it will become impression. Before becoming an impression, what it does is in your brain, all the time it starts bombarding you with that information that you have to do this, you have to do this. Let's say you're thinking about an object or a person. Once you start thinking again and again, then even if you stop thinking, what this brain does is, that's how it is structured. It sends you reminders. Hey, what is this? You were thinking of this person and this object or a situation. Suddenly, how come you stopped thinking? Can you understand what a kind of a system it is there in the brain? So now the same thing, if we do it for higher causes, like to developing something which is more divine in us, or which is going to help not only on the path of spirituality but also on the path of our career and life ahead. So I have been trying to pick up some very good concepts from the Gita, and that shloka will be given to you. So what we'll do is, we'll all take a time of, say, for one shloka which is 2 sentences, how many days you all would need to by heart? Can you just give me a quick reply? I think 3 days is enough to by heart one shloka. Archana is saying 1 day. Archana, everybody is not as clever as you are. Anyway, I think 3 is comfortable. Yeah, you should not be too much of a pressure on your mind. So let's take 3 days. Okay. Now, in these from this shloka, what is the concept? Is now I'll reveal to you. My research is still going on that. The first shloka which I am taking is where there is a delusion, moha. Now, what is this? A wrong understanding of your own self, wrong understanding of people around, wrong understanding of the situation and everything else in this world. So anybody for that matter, if you have to correct yourself, first you have to know that you are wrong, isn't it? So what we'll do is we'll take that moha. Now first put it in your mind. Yes, I want to completely restructure, reorganize and reframe my entire thoughts, feelings, reactions, perceptions, all this. So I am going to constantly, while chanting, I'm only going to remember one central teaching of that shloka, not the word to word meaning or the direct translation of that. In fact, the direct translation is something else. But the central teaching is moha, wrong understanding. So taking that, we will send it to the deep inside our brain, and there what happens? A neural pathway is created. And now what is that neural pathway? Like say for example, you go from your home to your office daily. And you have to cross many lanes, by lanes, main roads, then again sub roads, signals, all this are there, right? Imagine wherever you want to go in your life, you want to go to the market, you want to go to the office, from office you want to go to a friend's place, wherever it is, wherever you want to go, imagine if you had a flyover only for yourself. Nobody else is going to come on that. Either ways, your way or the opposite way. Now these are those kind of flyovers which we are going to create, which means they will also keep sending you messages that yes, when you talk of moha, that starts getting corrected. And then the next one shloka which I have as of now found is surrender. Surrender to God. With this, what will happen? You will start receiving the grace of the God. Now God is talking all about moha only. Shoka, moha, shoka, moha. He says when there is moha, there is shoka, meaning sorrow. If there is no moha, there is no shoka. So I am saying, oh Lord, I have moha. Please first make me understand where all I am wrong in life, so that I want to correct myself. And then the second, after another 3 days, once we have done this, then we'll take that second one, surrender. Surrender means complete surrender. You surrender to the feet of the Lord and say, now you take care of me. See how a baby in the mother's arms is so comfortable. Whatever the mother is going around, it is giggling, it is smiling, and sometimes it is sleeping. How? Because it has surrendered. It knows that the mother is taking care. When we have these facilities and opportunities, why don't we make use of it? So we'll take that second, surrender. Then likewise, I'm picking up some very important shlokas, and then we move forward in life. So there is constant transformation happening in us. It's not that just we're listening to the Gita and then after everything is over, then you forget and you become your normal person, because we all are like the dog's tail. We have our vasanas. So now for fighting vasanas, you have used the tool of Mahamrutyunjay Japa, where you are saying, oh Lord, I know you cannot remove the vasanas from where they are. You sugandhim, make it sweetly fragrant. Now those which are rotting, which are not good, either for me or for others, you start changing it to a likable one, a more pleasing one, and a more acceptable one. So on these lines, we were inculcating so many practices, isn't it? So this is one more which I thought I'll share with you, and that's how we'll move forward on this sadhana. Because without this, you may listen to Bhagavad Gita daily without fail. You may even by heart the entire Bhagavad Gita. But if that does not translate into a transformation within yourself, it has got no meaning. Let's say when you're depositing money into your account number has to be right, isn't it? Otherwise, it will not go into your account. It will go somewhere else. So what knowledge we have gained has to get into this soul, this body. Okay. Now, let's move forward. We have completed up to verse 30 on the Karma Yoga. I'll quickly take you on a recap of verse 30 because verse 30 is the summary of the entire Karma Yoga, actually speaking. It talks about all that is extremely important. Okay. Now here, I'll read this shloka and then I'll explain again. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasyaadhyatmacetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvaraha. See here, God is giving a beautiful technique how to come out of the bondage of karma. Firstly. Secondly, what he says is vigata jvaraha. Vigata jvaraha means here he is saying how you can perform in this world without mental grief or agitation or disturbances. Okay, now how I can do this? The words adhyatma cetasa of the shloka, it says, you keep your mind constantly in association with me. Think that I am with you always. There is no harm, isn't it? You think of somebody who doesn't even care for you, and then you all the time we worry about it. Rather than that, think of the God. Every moment invested will be a blissful investment for the present, and it will be multifold geometrical growth for the future. So adhyatma cetasa, be with the Lord. See, this is practice again. And you can do so many things with practice. It's all that we need, that willpower and strength, and be constantly at it. Next, then he says sannyasya. Sannyasa means what? Offer all your actions unto him. You say, oh Lord, I don't know from where I came. Suddenly I realized that I am somebody. Maybe when I was 3 years or 4 years or 5 years old, when everybody used to ask me to sing, I used to sing and I used to dance and everybody used to clap. So I could feel that I am somebody here. Everybody, I'm making everybody laugh and happy. That's all we know. From there we got to know that we are somebody. And then one fine day you will not know where you are when the life comes to an end. What is that which we have in our control over here? I know, O Lord, you have already told us in the Sankhya Yoga, the previous chapter, that by Prakriti and Maya you have created, you yourself have created me. So my entire bound down duty is to see that I am not only living for you, but I am constantly working for you. So they see the tremendous amount of Ishvara Arpana Buddhi which comes over here. The key to Karma Yoga is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. So by constantly thinking of Him and by saying, I am working for you, O Lord, I have given you that prayer that before you start your work, think that you're going to worship God, and while doing the work, think that you are worshiping God. I am an instrument in your hands, and after completing the work, offer all your work unto the feet of the Lord as a dedication towards Him and your love towards Him. With this feeling, and Nirashir is saying, what? Don't think of the results. You have nothing under your control. Just give your best shot. When you are engaged in my thoughts and you are constantly feeling that you are doing for the love of God, work effortlessly. And then you see, even as per science also, the reticular activating system, what we call the RAS, the brain very clearly, if you are distorted with what is going to happen then, what is going to happen now, the brain will not be able to take the right inputs. Its level of functioning goes down, which means there are lesser inputs, and then accordingly the output is also lower. You stand to lose. So with the divine submission, you move forward on these lines and have that spirit of yajna. So these are the wonderful teachings he has given us in this particular shloka. And tell me, what is so difficult to do about it? You're only thinking about it, isn't it? So automatically, if you can gain so much by changing your thought process. See, here is not saying, no, you have to deposit a big sum, about 10 lakhs of rupees somewhere, and you have to go to about half a dozen pilgrimages, and you have to do a fasting vrat for 3 days continuously. Nothing like that. It's so easy. What he's saying, just think that I am there with you. Can you think of anybody more powerful by your side than the Lord? If you have achieved that, what a kind of feeling you will have. Okay, so Ishvararpana Buddhi with the Prasada Buddhi, resting all your thoughts on God and not thinking of what will happen. See, even if you know something wrong, something terrible is going to happen, you cannot do anything about it. What will have to come to you will come. But if the Lord is there, everything will be under control. With that feeling, move forward. Okay. Now we come to the 31st verse. So please repeat. Ye me matamidam nityam अनुत्तिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तो मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः. See here what the Lord says. This is, he says about mata. Eme matamidam. Matam means my teachings. Idam, these. Nityam, constantly. Okay. Anuttishtanti, you please abide. He's saying those who are able to constantly practice what I am saying. With what? With faith. And without any jittery feeling. Steadily in faith. They will be released from the bondage of karma. Is verdict now. He has promised you over here. You just follow what I have said. That is what the Lord is saying. And for that what? You need faith. The one who is faithless often remains pathless. Because anybody tells him anything, he will ask 100 questions. He will never even try to attempt doing anything. First, we go in for free trials, isn't it? For everything you want a trial. So try, no faith. What is the harm in it? Try for a week, try for 1 month. And if you feel that nothing is happening, it's all nonsense, then leave it. But even before trying, why do you want to give up? So here it's a clear verdict. You want to be released from the bondage of karma? Come. Here are my principles, teachings which I'm telling you. Take it, adhere to it, and move forward in life. Don't look back. And also, see his humbleness. He says, teachings. Normally what happens, we have seen there are so many philosophers and scholars. What they do? Whatever opinion they have of theirs, they call it as a principle. But here, see, the Lord is just saying, my teachings. So there's a big difference between principle and opinion. Always principle is one and opinions can be many. But here is also showing how humble is in just saying, these are my teachings, my opinions. You don't have to bother. Just go ahead with that faith. So this is a commitment which God has given us. What we only need is steadfastness on that path. Okay. Now we'll go to the next verse, 32. Please repeat. Ye tve tadabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vibhudhamstan viddhi nashtana chetasah. And in this shloka, what the Lord says is, what about those who disregard or ignore whatever has been told? See, there may be people, see, now, like now, you out of interest, you want somebody who is very close to you also to learn this, understand this, and get this something which is wonderful. As we normally say, if there's a good restaurant, you call up your friend, you said, hey, there's a good restaurant which has come up here. Have you been there? Says, no. Hey, you must go this weekend. The same is with a movie. We talk about that. Hey, did you see this movie? Hey, then it's a must watch. You must see. So we have to say, hey, Bhagavad Gita, have you heard? It's mind-boggling. You should know what it is. In fact, today, Shamli was telling me, Shamla, she said, this Seton Hall University in New Jersey, for their business management course, they have made Bhagavad Gita as a subject and which is compulsory, not optional. So this is the kind of respect which Gita is getting across the world, because it has got so many beautiful things. It's loaded with the jewels and precious stones. It is just that you need to reach it and make use of it. So he says, what about those people who find faults with the teachings? And he only says they just ruin themselves. That's all. They are going to ruin themselves. Who find faults, who talk rubbish about this. Hey, how can this happen? Hey, how can that happen? So one thing, if we don't understand or whatever it is, we must make our attempt to understand, but never criticize. Because this is something which is divine and holy, and it is beyond our understanding sometimes. So that kind of faith has to be there. If you take it positively, I would say, like, I put in my blind faith. Why? When great sages and great saints have followed this, then who am I to question this? Just surrender, blindly follow, and you see what transformation happens. So here the Lord is very clear. What you have to focus is, you accept it with faith, get into your sadhana. With what? Shraddha. Because without Shraddha, nothing can be achieved. In fact, Jagadguru Shankaracharya, he defines Shraddha, Vedanta Vakyeshu Dhido Vishwasa Shraddha. Meaning, Shraddha is that strong belief in what your teachers and the scriptures talk about. That's all. Now, it is coming from somebody who has understood this and who is conveying it to you. So you should have that Shraddha. There you should not have doubts, basically. Doubts in the sense, you always can have a doubt, clarify, but you should not try to ignore it. Because if you ignore, you yourself are going to be losing on that front. So that's what the Lord is trying to make over. These are all brief points he's giving in every shloka, and trying to say that you need to follow on these lines and then see how your life changes. One thing, getting the knowledge is one step. Second is practicing the knowledge. Till then it is not complete. Now you're hungry. You go to a food court and you check what all is available and you select, you pay the money, and you take your token and you sit there. You may sit for hours together over there, but unless and until when called for, if you don't go and pick up the food from the counter and put it in your mouth, your hunger will never go away. That energy what you were wanting, one is you want to see that your hunger goes away, and second is what you want is that energy because you're tired. So in the same way, first study, understand, and then you have to, that practice is important. So then it's the complete transaction completed, circuit completed. Okay, let's meditate now. So yesterday's meditation, which we have now redesigned, is now that we are moving on the path of feeling that awareness. See, this is a very effective meditation, and secondly, it is very simple. Thirdly, it is easy to practice because you have to just feel your awareness in your body, that's all, which I'll tell you gradually in 3 to 4 weeks time you will be able to do this even with your eyes open, because feeling the presence of awareness in your body doesn't need that great focus. You have to just get the hang of it. Initially you would need, but after a while you really don't need that. Okay.